Commissioner Adam Silver attended the game. He's in town for a press conference today at the Clippers' new arena, the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. Silver is expected to announce that the NBA All-Star Game in 2026 will be played at the Intuit Dome. The Clippers move into their new home next season. The Chargers met Monday with Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh at an undisclosed location outside of California. The Chargers are the first NFL team to meet with Harbaugh, who appears to be making plans to leave Michigan. USC quarterback Caleb Williams is entering the NFL draft. Williams is projected to be the #1 pick. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Can I talk to you? I know you got some questions. What's the hardest thing you're going through? Let's talk about it.
Talking about mountains, talking about pain. Talking about my life, when will it change? Talking about all things. God can do all things. Talking about nights I lose my way, and my dreams that have been erased. Talking about all things. I said I can do all things.
I understand.
I know days it won't always be easy.
Yeah.
So it's good to know I'll never let you down. Talking about all things, all the big and the small things.
I'm so sure.
God can do all things.
KBLA Talk 1580. Thank goodness for that. Jarrett His is an award-winning journalist, a professor, an artist. He's contributed to the New York Times, Variety, NBC, CNN International, and beyond. He's a past president, immediate past president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and he's also an author. He's got a book out called Historically Black Phrases, which dives deep into the Black vernacular. Jarrett His, welcome.
Dominique, you always make me sound so cool. Thank you.
Well, you are so cool, and I'm delighted to have you with me this morning, this Iowa caucus hangover morning.
I know. I was listening to your conversation, and I was like, I was listening and like talking back to the radio, and I was like, oh, I'll be on in a few minutes. I can chill out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess there was some good news. I wanted to say there's good news and there's bad news. I think it's mostly not that great because the 45th president really pounded the competition, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I think this is an interesting moment. I was hearing the conversation about how we're hearing conservatives and really, I put an asterisk there, and really, I think we largely need white folks, right?
Yeah.
Are using Donald Trump and the story of David to be able to to correlate those things, saying like, oh, like David was, using God working in mysterious ways, was how Lawrence O'Donnell spoke about that last night, right? I saw that and I was thinking about, we really need to be pointing out how this is how white folks will be able to justify anything going forward. Right? I think it's so important that we see how they can see this person who defies all of the different norms, who does not speak in a way that would beget Jesus, right? Who quotes the Bible as 2 Corinthians and different things like that, right? Like, it's very clear that Donald Trump does not have like an attachment to Christianity, but the evangelicals have really surrounded him in this way because it gives them the opportunity to justify whatever they want, right? And it can be putting kids in cages, it can be being indicted, it can be anything. And when that ire gets turned toward Black folks, when that ire gets turned toward women, when that ire gets turned toward Jews, when that ire gets turned toward like Latinos or immigrants or disabled or whomever it is, right? It can be justified because, well, you know, God works in mysterious ways and it's all for the greater good. But we have to be clear that that greater good is the notion of white supremacy.
Honestly, it's a very excellent point because I think about our enslavement. I mean, it was justified supposedly along biblical lines. And so even though it's a new playbook in some ways, it's very foundational for our country.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, it is as American as apple pie, as we might say, right? Like, it is very much baked into who we are and how we got here. And so I think about that, and that is like the thing that concerns me when I see people that are starting to attach to Donald Trump in that kind of way. But like, we've been seeing this for years, right? This isn't new. But like, when we see how in that same polling that they were talking to people last night, they said that I believe it was somewhere in the 60s of the percentile, asking people if Donald Trump were convicted of a crime, would he still be, fit to be president? And 60% were still saying yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so I believe on the last time I was here, we were talking about this, if I'm not mistaken, but like, it's interesting to me. I can't think of who the Trump voter is that is like already a voter for Donald Trump right now that would be deeply moved by a conviction. You know what I mean?
No,
that
I think that's right.
Oh, now I'm not voting for him.
And we expect our, religious heroes to be martyrs or whatever, and that's what they're going to paint him as with each conviction. I think it erodes the sincere independent voters who think, well, he may be flawed, but my taxes will go down, or I'll have a better time on the stock market, or whatever. For those folks, it may erode them, but I think for the hardcore, and that's the other thing about Iowa with the freezing cold temperatures, it was almost like you had to be on some kind of mission from your idea of God to go out there and support Trump. So that might be a good thing, because it could be that the more reasonable folks in the Republican Party, if that even is a thing anymore, stayed home and would not stay home for the big contest.
I'm challenged, because I think the ways that all of the polling, which means what anymore, right?
Yeah, true.
But also like the way that we've seen people turn out for Donald Trump, like, it's important that we always remember that Donald Trump has never won a popular vote. Right.
Yeah.
And like, Donald Trump has never won for candidates. Right. Donald Trump endorsed candidates have never really won. When we go back and look, like, they have not had a great track record of when it comes to the ballot box. And so when I think about Donald Trump as a candidate, we have to think about how many things there are working against him and how hard they're working, how hard all of the Republicans are working to make this work for him. Right. Because it's really interesting to me when we're seeing people like who are defying their own morals, who are going against what they say their values are, who are voting out of their interest to be able to support this person. Right. Who doesn't have a policy platform. If you go to Donald Trump's website, the last time I was there, it is all about fundraising, and it is all about backing him for his trials. Right. He is a person who has done myriad different things, but these people are still like really invested in him, right? And so you have to recognize, like, it is bigger than policy, because when people are talking about I support Donald Trump's policies, it's like, which ones can you point to? Because Donald Trump didn't run on a platform in 2020, and he's not running on a platform now. He's running on hate, he's running on grievance, he's running on upset, right? And so there's not anything that he's offering Americans other than this picture of whiteness that he really sees as the way forward.
Yeah, which is not even a dog whistle in a sense. It's just so loud. But, I mean, there is the Project 2025. We were talking about that yesterday, which, although it's the Heritage Foundation or whatever, and not coming from the Trump campaign directly, it seems like those are the puppeteers, because the former president knows that if he delivers for the super conservative and the white nationalist extremists, he continues to stay in power. So he pretty much kowtows what they say. And they've laid out a stark America in that document, which, is on their website, which is really about structures of governance more than specific policies. But it seems to be clear that it's meant to, smash any remaining remnants of women's rights to choose, and follow in some ways the DeSantis playbook around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and LGBTQ plus rights.
I haven't gone through the Project 2025 because of the way my mental health is set up.
Yeah, I feel you.
I have
small doses.
Listen, okay. But I can say that when I'm looking at this, it's really interesting how we are talking about this from like the God perspective and from the democratic and authoritarian perspective. I just want to also remind people that we have to always be thoughtful that all of this is rooted in a lie, right? Like,
yeah.
Donald Trump's entire story is based on a verifiably untrue story, I should say, right? And so, like, the idea that God is going to anoint this person on a story that's a lie, the idea that we need to, like, cede our government over to a person that Republicans called a con man before they voted for him,
right?
The idea that we're going to, like, dismantle democracy so that he doesn't get convicted of a crime or doesn't have to go to jail, but, like, all of the ramifications of that for us, right? Just for that man. I hear these conversations that we have, and I just kind of always have to remind myself, like, oh, this is a thing that is a lie, right? And,
well,
like,
so which of the lies are you referring to, Jarrett?
Well, I think about January 6th, right?
Okay.
I think about the election. I think about the ways that he has really taken that story, right? January 6th, and the election, and that fact that he says it was stolen from him. We saw the way that they acted that out on January 6th, but we also see how it has grown since then, right?
Yeah.
And when we think about the way that they talk about Donald Trump still being president, right, de facto president, or they think of him as president, in which case technically he would be running for a third term, which is also not constitutional. But it is just it's an interesting thing to watch them bend over backwards to support this guy, right? Because they're not supporting they're not supporting public policy. They're not supporting each other, right? They're supporting him and whiteness and white supremacy and the way that shows up in him and comes out of him. Yeah. And I'm fascinated by the way that we even see, like, the Heritage Foundation in this situation with Project 2025. We see them, like, going out of their way to make public policy positions that they're going to take in the future because of what they see as an opportunity in Donald Trump, right? The Republicans have had a really great opportunity in Donald Trump to be able to meet this moment.
Yeah. I mean, when you said on a lie, I thought about the birther lies towards Obama, but then I started thinking about the lie that Donald J. Trump is a self-made man, because when I was reading about his childhood, I know I need to protect my mental health more too. I learned that Donald Trump was paid $250,000 a year starting at age 2 by Fred Trump for being an officer in one of his companies. And that may have been money laundering. It may have been a way to set DJT up for life. But that, my friends, is not a self-made man, woman, or children, that he hates immigrants, but he married 2, that he, on and on it goes. I mean, there's just so many lies that are fundamental to who this person is supposed to be, that, I really couldn't figure out exactly which one you were talking about.
Well, I respect the follow-up question there, like, oh wait, which lie are we talking about?
Yeah.
But that really speaks to the point, right? It speaks to the point of like what we're talking about. Like, there are so many. There's a laundry list. God knows there are 91 indictments that are based on things that they've been lying about over the course of various different stories and time in their administration and thereafter. But like, it's interesting to me that, like, to your point, when Republicans were running against Donald Trump early in the election in 2015, they were all talking about him as a con man, right? Yeah. All of the people who prop him up now were talking about him as a con man. And so I'm just fascinated by that and wondering, like, at what point does that come back around? But I also have to be hopeful, right? Like, because I think that so much of the conversation that I have with folks, like, really kind of brings me down. We talk about our mental health, right? But like, I also have to believe that, like, so many of us that are out here that are doing this work, that are out here speaking up about it, that are out here talking to our friends and our families about it, I have to believe that it's going to be effective, right? I think that we've seen it time and time again. Again, reminding you, Donald Trump has never won a popular vote, right? And very arguably won in 2016, but we could go down that another day. But like, I have to believe that, as they spoke about last night, Donald Trump is not gaining voters, right? I don't think people are being converted to Donald Trump after like 91 indictments and the way that we've seen him move since leaving office. I don't think there are people who are being converted to him, but I do think that there are people who are ground in, right? Because they have a completely different media ecosystem, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They see things that are completely different. They hear stories that are completely different. And this was another piece of the coverage in Iowa last night where they're talking about how they don't have the same facts. They don't have the same people. They don't have the same stories. The idea of Donald Trump being convicted might not even reach those folks, right? And so like, that is something that we think about when we're on these platforms. Like, those folks are not listening to KBLA, right? Not most of them, right? And if there are, there's a handful, right? And they're not going to be hearing about an indictment. They're not going to be hearing about a conviction. They're not going to be hearing about the consequences of E. Jean Carroll. We're not going to be hearing about Bonnie Willis. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not going to be hearing about any of that. And so it's a different kind of thing to have to figure out, like, how do we reach that voter? How do we get them to turn their mind in a different direction on these things? It's hard.
Award-winning journalist Jarrett Hill is my guest. You are invited in. Always 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This is KBLA Talk 1580, where we amplify Black and progressive voices around the clock.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Get deals on what you need during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Right now, save $250 when you buy a DeWalt 12-inch sliding miter saw and adjustable stand together. Plus, save $710 on an LG kitchen suite and earn 3 times the bonus points on all LG appliances. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Bonus points calculated before tax and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid 1/15 to 1/26. Subject to change.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision?
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes 8-count.
Granddad, what's good?
Hey there, got us a quarter pounder with cheese and McNuggets.
Wow, haven't had our special McDonald's order in a minute.
Heard your little tic-tac-toe dance didn't get no likes.
Oh man, is Mom telling everybody?
You know she is.
There's a deal for every favorite grandson at McDonald's. Right now, get one favorite like a quarter pounder with cheese or 10-piece chicken McNuggets and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
We're for Washington. We love Febrez's new scent.
Refresh and energize.
So much we made a song about it.
is here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I feel occasional burning and stabbing in my hands as I age.
I sometimes feel numbness and tingling in my feet as I get older.
It's starting to get in the way of doing what I love.
At Nervive, we hear you, and we can help. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use.
Now that I know, I'm taking control.
Try Nervive Nerve Relief and say yes to healthy nerves. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And Jarrett Hill is my guest, but don't be scared. You're always invited in, 800-920-1580. He is a creative, a journalist, a professor, and much more. And trying to unpack what happened yesterday in Iowa, what's happening in our country, and things we need to be tracking. So let's talk about second place or the race. I don't know. Is it the race to be vice president? Is it the race to have a bigger book deal at this point? DeSantis and Haley were close to being tied. She's trying to spin that as a victory. He's trying to spin it as a victory, predictably. Does that mean neither one of them is going to go away for a long time and we have to keep hearing both of their terrible rhetoric? Or does it make them pretty much irrelevant with his landslide, because I know Nikki Haley's coming up on her home state, but she's losing there. So I just don't see a path forward.
Yeah, I think that we've already seen a lot of the candidates kind of dropping off, and I would expect that we're going to start seeing some more folks drop off in the next week here or so. I'm kind of curious about how they're going to continue to justify, right, their running. And so when we think about South Carolina, that's going to be on February 3rd. Mm-hmm. And so around that time, right, Nikki Haley, we'll see how she does there. If she's polling really terribly, I would imagine that she might pull out before that. But I think that the question of like, are they running for the vice presidential ticket, or are they running for a book deal or a job at Fox News or whatever it is really the question, because I'm not really sure. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, I don't know how you run with Donald Trump after you run against him in the way that some of these people are going to have to at some point. But also, like, we've seen every other person in the party that supports him do that, right? We've seen Ted Cruz do it. We've seen Lindsey Graham do it. We've seen, like, the list of people do it. And so I would imagine that no matter how hard they have to go against Donald Trump, which none of them really have, right? But they've had to say that they don't think that they think he's going to lose, or that they think, these other things. I would say, like, any of them could fold to Donald Trump. I mean, I think we were looking at the official from who was it from Arizona, that she was Carrie Lake.
Right.
We were kind of thinking she might be the vice president. I think Nikki Haley, having worked in his administration, like, sure, like, it could be any of them, but I don't think it's going to really matter what the voters have to say, because Donald Trump does not care about the voters.
He doesn't care about the voters. Yeah, that is an interesting point. But I was happy to see Vivek Ramaswamy drop out, because I'm just tired of hearing him. He's such a little poser to me.
Yeah, I mean, I always see people like him, and I'm like, what is the benefit of Trump loyalty, right? Because the voters aren't going to vote for you over him. He's not going to be loyal to you, and as soon as you come against him, he's going to eat you alive. Right. He's not going to go out of his way for you. He's not going to do any of that. And you're a brown person, so that his level of respect for you is already, is going to be subpar just out of the gate. And I've just not understood that. I've never understood that strategy for you.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Remember when they were saying hang Mike Pence? Imagine if he would have not been white. How
Absolutely.
Frothy that lynch party would have gotten. Yeah.
1,000%.
I think you're right that, there's a lot of organizing that can be done, and that, we can't just throw up our hands and say, okay, because these MAGA folks have never won, at least with Donald Trump, they've never won the popular vote, even though we still have the Electoral College, so he theoretically doesn't have to win it again. But at this point, I'm quite concerned that he could win again. What do you think?
I mean, I think I would say stranger things have already happened.
Yeah,
right?
for
and
sure.
So, him winning the first time, I think, is the stranger one. Him winning the second time is probably less strange. But like, I think that Donald Trump could absolutely win again. I think that the way that they have positioned themselves in these swing states that really matter with the Electoral College, I think it's absolutely possible. And I think that none of us can be resigned to the idea that, that's going to just take care of itself, because it's not, right? And I think that it's going to take all of us getting up and getting out and voting. And I think that one of the challenges has been, we've been hearing this is the most important election of our lifetime since 2008.
Right. We're all sick of hearing
that.
Yeah.
Exactly. But like, it gets exponentially more true with each of these elections because of the situations that we're seeing ourselves in, right?
Yeah.
And so when we're seeing Donald Trump up against Joe Biden, that is a very different situation than when we were looking at Mitt Romney go against Barack Obama, right? None of us were concerned about whether or not Mitt Romney was going to dismantle democracy and become an authoritarian leader, right? Like, no one was concerned about that.
Yeah.
And so when we're thinking about the times that we're in right now and the things that we've already been through, I think that we have to understand how things are just so much different. And this is one of this is probably the most important election of my lifetime for sure at this point. And God forbid, how will we be talking about that in 2028, maybe?
Yeah,
but
I hope not.
Will be different. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we won't be talking about it in 2028. But then again, that would mean that we still had elections. So that might be, an optimistic outlook, given what we're seeing now. And at this point, it's almost like nothing is hyperbole because of where we are. We talked about, and we're up against news, traffic, and sports, so we can talk about this on the other side. But we talked about this kind of almost religious fervor and the packaging of him as some kind of savior. You put that up against the situation in Gaza, where many evangelicals feel that is, Armageddon playing out, or some kind of a religious prophecy that has to be fulfilled. And you put that up against the polarization that we have now. The thing that worries me is I always have a chance if I'm trying to talk you out of a political position or an economic analysis. I can show you data. I can tell a story. Maybe, just maybe, I'll get through to you. But when you talk about opposing people's religious beliefs, that's tough. Whether it's a cult or an actual religion, it's tough to get through that. How do we do it, and what do we have to do to win, or do we even have to win those hearts and minds in 2024? We'll look at that and more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. We're now learning entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy is ending his 2024 Republican presidential campaign. Ramaswamy suspended his bid after a disappointing showing in the Iowa caucus, deciding to endorse former President Trump after polling a distant fourth. In Illinois, the city of Chicago is expected to respond to a lawsuit brought by several African-American firefighters before this month is over. Attorney Chiquita Hall Jackson says that a judge ruled that the 1995 fire test was discriminatory in the way that it was graded, and more than 100 black applicants who took the exam were restored in every category except promotions. The lawsuit is now seeking back pay for the firefighters, even as they near retirement. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
The Lakers pulled away from Oklahoma City in the fourth quarter last night to win by 7, 27 points and 15 rebounds from Anthony Davis. LeBron had 25 points and 6 assists. OKC plays the Clippers tonight at Crypto.com. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver attended the game. He's in town for a press conference today at the Clippers' new arena, the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. Silver is expected to announce that the NBA All-Star Game in 2026 will be played at the Intuit Dome. The Clippers move into their new home next season. The Chargers met Monday with Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh at an undisclosed location outside of California. The Chargers are the first NFL team to meet with Harbaugh, who appears to be making plans to leave Michigan. USC quarterback Caleb Williams is entering the NFL draft. Williams is projected to be the number 1 pick. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Skincare is self-care, and with daily beauty steals of 50% off during Ulta Beauty's Love Your Skin event, I can find everything I need to make loving my skin a daily practice, from brands like Osea, Lancome, and Tula. And I can shop weekly skin and wellness deals of 30% off more must-have brands. Plus, see what's new from brands like Bubble and in select stores, Sol de Janeiro and Ulla Henriksen. Hurry, event ends January 20th. Shop in store, online, or try pickup today. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful. Conditions apply.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Now you can get a Walmart Plus membership, plus not pay for it, because it's included with Straight Talk wireless plans. You get free delivery with Walmart Plus a Paramount Plus subscription included. Plus, you pay less for gas. That's a lot of pluses.
Only Straight Talk gives you unlimited 5G data and Walmart Plus included on select plans for free.
Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Requires service on Gold or Platinum Unlimited. One offer per eligible account. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Additional terms apply.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast. With a buck here, buck there. Here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-Do.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Jarrett Hill is my guest, and the book is really fun. You know what? One of these days we're going to have to just do a whole show on your book, Historically Black Phrases. Jarrett, where can we get it, though?
You can get the book everywhere books are sold. The easiest way to find it, go to historicallyblackphrases.com, and links to all the retailers there.
Love that. It's such a cool project. Yeah. So how do you get through to folks who are making political decisions based on religious beliefs?
You said that are rooting for Trump with religious beliefs?
Yeah, I mean, yes, particularly that, but really anything, right? It's like American Taliban, actually.
Gotcha. I think the thing that you were saying earlier in your question was like it's challenging because nothing is hyperbole anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And we've been saying now for a long time like unprecedented doesn't mean anything anymore. Like we using the phrase uncharted territory doesn't really mean anything anymore because we've been through so much crazy over the last 5-6 years. And so when I think about when we're seeing people who have their religion attached to their beliefs, I feel like the idea of trying to convert those folks is a lot more challenging. I don't know how we can necessarily convert those folks so much as we can like expose them to information.
Yeah.
I think what's really challenging about the Trump voter is that they have such different information as we were talking about. And I think that wanting to convert people's belief is really, really challenging. And I think that more so the making sure that we can get correct information out into the world, making sure that people can have some sense of media literacy. We're having that conversation in California right now about media literacy in our education. I think that is more of what we can do. But I think that more than that, as the election is concerned, I think we have to make sure that all of us are getting out there, right? Because that is going to be more effective than trying to convert hearts or change hearts. Because you know, I don't know how we do that.
Right, we turn ourselves out, and that's probably a better use of our energy. I mentioned the book, and you said we can go to historicallyblackphrases.com. You have a Black culture game show too. Tell me about that and what you're taking it on the road, right?
Yes. So we have taken the book, Historically Black Phrases, from I Ain't One of Your Little Friends to Who All Gonna Be There, and turned it into a pop culture Black game show that we're taking on tour. So we'll be in D.C. at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Library on February 8th. We'll be in Atlanta at the Gathering Spot. We'll be at the Schomburg in Harlem, and then here in Los Angeles, we'll be at the Renberg Theater in Hollywood. And so we'll be loving to have so many people come out and play with us. If you're in the audience, you can win real prizes, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have notable people as our celebrity contestants on the show. There's a lot of interaction with the audience, so it'll be a lot of fun. So you can go to historicallyblackphrases.com to check out the tour dates, and obviously come if we're here in Los Angeles, or if we're going to be in one of the other cities as well.
Yeah, that sounds so fun. And you're following in the footsteps of Kiki, who won first Black woman to win for game show, which I thought was pretty surprising considering how fun and funny we are. We should have been winning in that category much sooner. But congratulations going out to Miss Kiki Palmer.
Yes, I mean, listen, I am a Kiki Palmer stan account. I love Kiki
Really?
Palmer. I think she's fantastic on anything that she does. I think she's one of the most unique and interesting personalities, and we also have like the benefit of having seen her grown up.
Yeah.
So we have that attachment with her. And the game show thing for us has been a lot of fun because like I've grown up watching game shows my whole life, right? And like I started off watching The Price is Right as a little baby with my grandmother. And so like being able to take a game show on tour is so fun for me because we get to do the live audience, we get to be in different cities, we get to do the game show thing of it. And it's going to be really fun. We're mixing in a lot of Black media and moments from television and music and social media and award shows and the various different things that we have in culture that we really love.
Well, congratulations on that. It's a creative and fun thing. I wouldn't be at all surprised if you got picked up by somebody and started actually doing a television game show. That seems pretty likely to happen. The Emmys were a bit.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Name it. Let's name it and claim it.
Name
Name it and claim it. Emmy Awards 2025. So what
we are working on it.
So what we saw last night was actually the 2023 Emmys because of the strike, labor action. That 2023 was delayed, so we're going to have the 2024 Emmys in September. It's going to be one of those blue moon years. I think it may be the first ever where we have 2 Emmys in one calendar year, and that's a bit confusing. But, you know, we were talking earlier in the show about how the LA Times claims that diversity is back in the Emmy Awards, and we did have some great and historic wins, not just for Black people, but for Asian Americans. What was your takeaway as far as that goes?
I think that is a beautiful sentiment, period. I think that I think we had a very Black Emmys last night if you look at the behind the scenes. So Jesse Collins Entertainment produced the show, and it was an all-black producing staff. So that's, Anthony Anderson was calling it the Chocolate Emmys last night. And so while that is true for last night, and I want to make clear that I'm saying for last night in capital, bold, italicized, and underlined letters, that was true for last night. I think that when we're coming out of this strike, which you just talked about, how that has affected our award schedule, none of the unions were fighting for diversity, equity, or inclusion. Right.
SAG-AFTRA got the makeup and hair. They got the makeup and hair win. That was a small win for diversity. Actually, it's kind of a big win for a black woman in the industry. That was a win. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. There was no. That wasn't one of our fighting points.
That was not one of the fighting points, right? And to be clear, makeup and hair for black folks in television and film is very, very important, and I don't want to understate that. But when we're looking at from a content and programming perspective, when we're looking at it from an industry executive's perspective, because another one of the things that happened over the course of the strike was a lot of the black folks that we saw get hired into higher roles where they're bringing in black folks, brown folks, queer folks, trans folks, disabled folks, folks from all other different marginalized groups. A lot of those people who had those jobs are now gone.
Yeah, that's a great point too.
Their studios laid them off. We saw that day where there were 4 different black woman executives that were gone, right? None of these guilds were really fighting for those kinds of things in their negotiations. So the idea that the industry is gone diversity, equity, and inclusion, again, I say for last night, right? Mm-hmm. Because we are not, that is going to have a translation when we're starting to see what programming gets picked up, what shows are getting made, what things are going out into the world, and what things get stuck in development, or which things never get greenlit in the first place. And so I'm very curious to see over the course of the next 2-3 years what this conversation looks like.
Yeah, and then those folks that you're talking about, they canceled a lot of deals under the guise of the strike, which may have really just been about downsizing their bottom lines. And those are black creatives who have development deals or, different kinds of plans in place where they can, like you said, create projects that employ many other people, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes. So we did see some pretty serious losses and setbacks in that process.
Can I also say to that point, the folks that we saw leaving all of those different roles, one, they're probably not going to be going back into those roles, but also when we're thinking about the ways that we're seeing things consolidated at the different networks and the streamers, right? Mm-hmm. The way that we're seeing smaller streamers fall away, we're going to see less and less content, right? We've seen more black, brown, indigenous, queer, trans, the various different marginalized groups. We've seen more representation, but when we think about it proportionally, it hasn't been that major of a jump. And when those things start to recede again, that number is going to recede as well.
Yeah. And the business model is changing, which is why we only had 86% approve our new contract, because I feel like people can see the writing on the wall and know that next round, those studios are going to be entrenched and we will not have the leverage, whatever leverage we had this time. So I think that's true. The model is changing too.
The other thing I wanted to mention to your earlier point about the studios ending deals for creatives, the interesting piece about that is that the studios were able to play both sides of the coin on that, right? On one hand, they could say, well, we have to, end your contract. We have to suspend your contract. We can't renew your contract because we're in strike and we don't know how long that's going to go. But on the other side, they're not at the table negotiating, right? And because we know that there were months where they weren't negotiating with anybody, and so that they could take as long as they wanted to on that side of the table, and on the other side say oh, well, there's nothing we can do. There's a strike and we have to wait it out. And so even that piece is interesting because of the way that it has specific impact on these specific creators and executives that we're talking about. It was a way that they could really clear out a lot of the last hired, if you will, to be able to and hold that as long as they wanted to.
How do you think, what was your assessment of Anthony Anderson? And I asked that in the context of the Golden Globes calling in Joe Coy, right, Filipino comedian, at the last minute when they couldn't find anybody else that was qualified, and then trashing his performance and how those jobs are often thankless tasks, and also diversity window dressing.
So yes, it is diversity window dressing, which Gerard Carmichael named when he hosted the Golden Globes a couple of years ago now. I do think it's diversity window dressing. I have like a very distinct perspective on this as a person who moved to LA with the dream of hosting the 100th Oscars in 2028. I look at this role like a little bit more critically, and like Joe Coy got really panned for his performance at the Golden Globes, but like as a person who was watching it, I thought he did a really great job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I was watching his opening monologue and we were laughing, right?
I mean, he's funny, but they might not be getting the jokes. Those executives and those folks, like, I've seen him at a stadium. He's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad was texting me about him last night, like, do you know this Joe Coy guy? Right? And like, Joe Coy is very funny. And like, I think he did a fantastic job as a person who was watching him, and also recognizing he had 10 days of preparation with this, and people
insane.
writing jokes for him, which is just absurd. Exactly. Because we normally know that months in advance. When I look at Anthony Anderson, I loved Anthony Anderson and the way that they took a theme and made it move through the night, right? The theme was about like our vintage shows that we loved back in the day. And like all throughout the night, we saw different television reunions happening. And I thought it was really dope to be able to see Arsenio Hall, right? And that wall come up and he step out and walk out there. It was great to see the Martin cast all together on a version of the Martin set. It was really, really cool to see so many of those different moments and Anthony Anderson kind of like moving us through them. I thought they did a really, really fantastic job last night. And as a production design person, I thought the production design of the set last night was incredible, but that's me nerding. So
but I love that. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the Oscars in 2028, by the way, Jarrett Hill. But yeah, I mean, so make television great again. Got it. We're talking with journalist Jarrett Hill, and you're invited in 800-920-1580. We are KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Don't settle for bumps, ingrowns, and itch due to dry skin. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is here with the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area, featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and skincare regimen that is dermatologist and gynecologist tested. Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about our full regimen of products.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked!
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin Ultra Soft on the potty, less is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. The grip is always soft. It's our party vibe. It's cushioned and clean, so our cheeks feel flat. So every booty wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
City of Los Angeles landlords that own rent-controlled properties, starting February 1st, you'll be able to increase rents by 4% for your rent-controlled properties. An extra 1% per utility, up to 6%, can be added only if you pay the entire gas and electric bill. And don't forget to give your tenant an advanced 30-day written notice for rent increases of less than 10%. It is state law. Learn more about the rent increase at housing.lacity.org. That's housing.lacity.org.
She's so smooth. So I'm interrupting my own shower to remind you to treat your skin like the queen she is with Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash, packed with Olay's highest level of vitamin B3 complex. It's so moisturizing that it will give you visibly smoother, head-turning skin in just 14 days. People wondering, how'd she get so smooth? Olay Hyaluronic Body Wash. Also, try Olay Hyaluronic Body Lotion.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer.
Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Talking with Jarrett Hill. And, you know, speaking about the Emmy Awards, I also want to circle back to Jesse Collins, who I met when I first came to LA with my big Oscar dreams, because he was a radio personality at The Beat when I worked there. And a good one at that. He did middays, and we were friendly at that time. And I feel like, you know, I kind of lost track of him, and I looked up, and he's like this amazing producer mogul. Jesse Collins Entertainment does the Image Awards and a lot of things, right?
Here's hoping they'll be producing my Oscars in 2028.
Yes.
So I think that would be great.
Yeah. So what did you think of the job they did?
I thought they produced this show really, really beautifully. Like I'm getting a little wary on award shows because of the way that awards work, right? And like having worked in this industry for a while and like starting to see that, but like I also still really appreciate an awards night, and I love seeing everyone together and in celebratory mood. And so watching the show last night was just a lot of fun. I also appreciated some of the information I learned last night. We heard RuPaul won again for RuPaul's Drag Race. But I also learned that Drew Paul is the most awarded host in history and the most awarded person of color in Emmy history, which was interesting.
That's
to me as well.
crazy, actually. I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, RuPaul's Drag Race has won, year after year after year since it started winning. It didn't start winning right away, but like since it started winning, RuPaul has won year after year after year. Kind of like we see in the top category with John Oliver from Last Week Tonight on HBO, which is another excellent show. I really, really enjoyed the Emmys last night, and I almost missed it because I almost forgot. So I was glad that I ended up watching last night.
Yeah, and Jasmine Guy winning after all these years is amazing too, right?
Yes, Jasmine Guy winning is fantastic. I think the moment of the night for me was Niecy Nash winning. I heard you on the air saying like you weren't watching the Dahmer series, and I wasn't either. But like, I do think it's important that we speak Niecy Nash's name in this moment, Niecy Nash Betts, because she is a phenomenal actress that I think people always consider her with comedy, right? And we don't take comedy seriously in our culture. We don't take it as an art form in the same way, and so we don't give appreciation to folks like a Niecy Nash. But Niecy Nash is such an incredibly talented actress. We see her in this Dahmer series winning this award. We also see her in Origin coming up from Ava DuVernay. That'll be out later this week. And it is an incredible film that is based on Isabel Wilkerson's book called Caste, which really takes a look at the distinctions that in this country we're talking about race a lot. In that film, Isabel Wilkerson is questioning whether or not we're talking about race or if we're talking about caste in certain situations. And that film is really, really incredible, led by Aunjanue Ellis, who we know and love, and is an incredible actress. Is written and directed by Ava DuVernay, starring Niecy Nash. We also see an incredible cameo performance from Audra McDonald in that film.
She's really having a moment on TV and film, isn't she, Audra McDonald?
Listen,
yeah,
Audra McDonald has a short moment in the film, but she is incredible in that moment. And this is that movie that we expect Ava DuVernay will probably be at the Oscars celebrating, and hopefully we'll see something for Aunjanue Ellis or Niecy Nash or some of the other folks in the film because it's that great.
Yeah, I've read the book, but I haven't seen the film yet. I definitely will go see it. Of course, Oprah said it's Ava DuVernay's finest work, but well, maybe we'll talk about Oprah's latest when we come forward, talking with Jarrett Hill on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils
form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
You do, and I'm so glad you're here. Jarrett Hill, you can find him. Well, where do we find you on all the social medias and things other than historically black...
Phrases.com.
Phrases. Historically black phrases.com, yes.
Yes, historicallyblackphrases.com is where you can get things about our book and our live game show tour that we're taking out for Black History Month. For me, you can find me on everywhere at Jarrett Hill, Jarrett. My parents made it difficult. Jarrett Hill on the Twitter, the Instagram, the threads, all the different things is where you can find me, Jarrett Hill.
Amazing. So when I heard that we were getting a Color Purple remix, I was like, eye roll, why? I was glad to hear that Taraji P. Henson had the same reaction. But it's getting raves, so now I'm going to make every attempt to see it this weekend. It sounds like you've already seen it.
Yes. So I will say, I think most of us heard they're doing The Color Purple in a film, and we're like, huh, okay, right? I think we all kind of had that feeling.
Yeah.
And then they rolled out the cast, and I was like, well, okay, right? There's a gif of Monique saying, I would like to see it, right? And I'm like, okay, I want to see what they're going to do with this. And I was not disappointed. Like, I think it's important for people to know if they haven't seen it. This is a reimagining of that story, right? It's not it's not the same film. It's a musical. It is a lot more hopeful. It is definitely a challenging film to see. I hadn't seen The Color Purple in so long, and I'd forgotten about how much domestic violence there is, right? How degraded Celie gets by Mr. But that's really a big part of the point in that story. And I had just not seen it in so long, and so like that's challenging to see. Right. But like these performances in this film are incredible. I think that I'm hoping for Fantasia to get nominated for a bunch of awards. One, so that she can win them and have that and go forward in a career, but also so that we can keep seeing Fantasia, because she has been murdering this press tour with fashion and like, just looking amazing every time we see her.
Now that I have seen.
Yes, no, it's been really, really incredible. And I think the music in this film is really, really beautiful. If you're familiar with the musical, or the music from the musical, so a lot of that music is in this film as well. I think Danielle Brooks, who plays Sophia, plays her incredibly. Oprah in an interview with Danielle Brooks was talking about how she's like Danielle Brooks's Sophia is a lot more entertaining to watch, right? She's funnier. She's a lot louder in a different kind of way, and a lot more brazen in certain kinds of ways, in which are really, really specific in Sophia. So I really, really enjoy the way that Danielle Brooks affects Sophia and how she sings her songs. Like Danielle Brooks really, really does her thing in this film as well.
Well, Jarrett Hill, it's always fun to talk with you. I hope you'll come back soon.
Oh, I will.
All right. I have a treat for you today. You want to stay with me. A story that will rivet you. Joe Nixon joins me after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.